In this video, we'll be going over how to multiply two two-digit numbers by each other. First, we'll go over the problem 23 times 34 using a couple different strategies. The first strategy is to use pictures or virtual or actual base 10 blocks. What I've done here is I've built 23 using 2 10s and 3 1s, and I've built 34 using 3 10s and 4 1s. And then what I've done is I've made an array of that same dimensions using hundreds, tens, and ones. So if I were to count how many little spaces were all the way across, this would be 34 and this would be 23. And so I have a 23 by 34 array of base 10 blocks. I didn't fill them in all with ones. I filled them in with the biggest blocks that I could, and that's going to make this a lot easier for me to calculate my total. So looking at my pieces, I notice that I have 6 red hundreds, and so I have 600. And that makes sense because I had 20 here times 30 here, and 20 times 30 is 600. Looking at my green pieces over here, I notice that I have 8 tens, which is worth 80. And since my ones up here are 4, and I did the 20 times the 4, it makes sense that I would get 80 here. Similarly, I have this section down here. I notice that I have 3, 6, 9 groups of 10. And that would be 9 tens or 90. And again, that makes sense since I'm doing 3 times 30. 3 times 30 is 90. Then I have this last section here, and I notice that there's 12. It's a 3 by 4 small array of ones. And so I have 12 here. And so to find my total, I just need to add up all these numbers. So I have 680. I have 90 plus 12, which is 102. And if I add those together, I get my total, which is 782. I can do something really similar, but without base 10 blocks using graph paper. So again, I'm going to draw an array, and I'm going to make that array be 34 by 23. So I'm making a rectangle that's 34 this way. And I was able to count my tens really nicely in the type of graph paper I had. That's a 10, 10 more, 10 more, and 4. And then here is 23. 10, 10, and 3 more. Very similar to my base 10 blocks. And so again, I notice in my drawing that I have 6 of these blocks that are each 10 by 10, which is 100. I notice over here in this section, I have 4 across and 20 down, because 2 tens, and so I notice that I have 80. I notice in this section that it's 30 across and 3 down, which is going to be 90 little boxes, and that in this last section here I have an array that's 3 by 4 boxes, which is 12. And so once again, I can add up my 600 and my 80, which is 680. I can add my 90 and my 12 and get 102, and add those together to get 782. I'd really like to be so efficient that I don't need base 10 blocks or even graph paper around. And so what I can do is use an open area model where I'm drawing a rectangle. I'm labeling it 34 and 23. And I'm breaking apart my 34 and my 23 into more manageable pieces. And so I can break apart my 34 into 30 and 4. And I can break apart my 23 into 20 and 3. And then think about these 4 smaller arrays, what they would be. So 20 times 30 is 600. And I know that because 2 times 3 is 6, and I have 10 100 times more, since 10 times 10 is 100. I have 20 times 4, which is 80. I have 30 times 3, which is 90. And I have 3 times 4, which is 12. You'll notice that I have the same numbers in each box. This time, maybe I'll change things up and add going down, because it doesn't really matter which order I add in. And then I'll add across to find my total, and once again I get 782. So I'd like you to try one of these strategies with this problem, 57 times 39. Press pause while you work and press play when you're ready to see my answer. So I think I'll use that most efficient strategy of that open area model. And so I'm going to take this side and have 57 and this be 39. And I'm going to break apart my 10s and my 1s again. So 50 and 7 and 30 and 9. And I know that 3 times 5 is 15. And I have a 10 times a 10, and so that's 100. So I need 2 zeros. So 30 times 50 is 1,500. 30 times 7 is going to give me 210. Since I have 3 times 7 is 21, and it's 3 tens times 7, so 21 tens. 9 times 5 tens would be 45 tens. So 9 times 50 is 450. And 9 times 7 is 63. And again, I can add. I think I'll add going down. And so that gives me 1,950. This gives me 273. And I think I'll set up to get my final answer, rewrite them vertically to help me out. And I'll use a carrying method. And so I get 2,223. Here's another example I'd like you to give a try. For 67 times 48, press pause while you work and press play when you're ready to go over it. So again, I think I'm going to use this method. I really like it because I don't need extra tools. And so I'll have 60 and 7 and 40 and 8. And you might have set it up the opposite way. I just set it up this way because the way I drew my rectangle, this side was longer. So I just made the bigger number on this side. And so I have 4 tens times 6 tens, and that's going to be 24 hundredths. I have 4 tens times 7, which is 28 tens, or 280. I have 8 times 6 tens, which is 48 tens, or 480. And I have 8 ones times 7 ones, which is 56 ones, which is 56. And I think I'll add this way to start. And so I get 2,680. And then these two, I'll get 536. And then I'll add those together. And so I get 3,216.